Hi guys, my name's Azera and I got to Masters in TFT after only playing for 1 year. Now set 9 just ended and I've been soft reset back to Diamond in set 9.5 and I kinda wanted to talk about the steps I took to get to Masters in the first place. Now, for point of reference, this is not going to be a good beginner video. I promise I'll make one in the future, but this is going to be something for like the gold plat range to be able to climb up to either, plat itself or diamond to even masters. And I really want to just go over this because I learned a lot while trying to climb and watch streamers. And I think it'll be a really good way for people to understand the game in a whole new level, right? I feel like a lot of people understand the basic premise of economy, trades, but they don't go into a deeper understanding, especially with legends now in the mix. And I kind of wanted to just talk about that and break stuff down. So in this video, I'm going to take those, aspects, I'm going to break them down, and I hope you guys enjoy. Alright, so the first thing I kind of wanted to talk about was understanding how traits, legends, augments, items, and all that kind of affect each other, and how when you really look at them in depth, they're really stronger if you have a good idea of what you're doing versus just looking at mobiletics and saying, hey, that's a strong comp, I want to copy paste it, right? So I'm going to talk about two really overpowered comps that were in set 9, and most of the units are still there in set 9.5, but they're kind of gone, some are kind of gone, but for the time being, just try to work with me here. So if we look at, Strategic Azir is the first one I want to talk about. Why did that work so well? Well, Azir's ability is every third attack, he gets a summon, and that summon just helps him hit people, right? So you want to give him attack speed, and alright, that's Gwyntu's Rage Blade. That's pretty simple. Now, what works so well with that, right? There are a few items that we can choose, but we see that Azir has a very low mana pool, right? He doesn't really need much mana to attack, so we can now deduce, okay, well, with Rage Blade, you don't really need to pair it with blue buff, but on top of that, because he's a low mana pool, you don't really need to pair it with something like Shojin's, right? So we're just going to use the Rage Blade to stack his mana. Well, alright, that's fine. So what else would he like? Well, he does magic damage, and an item that works really well with Rage Blade is Static Shiv. Alright, that's perfect. It reduces magic reduction, or it's a magic reducing item. So that works really perfectly. So now we have the perfect Azir items. And then the third item can usually be something like Sustain. So maybe like Hodge or, Gunblade, something that just keeps him alive, right? And that's kind of where you put Azir. And when you match him with units, you kind of think, all right, well, what is Azir like? He's a Shurima strategist. And when you think about that, okay, we're going to put at least 3 Shurimas, because back in set 9 you needed 3 to have the original cost work instead of the current 2 in set 9.5. But with that, well, we can say we need some good front lines. So we can either have Nasus, we can have Renekton potentially, we can have Talia for some backline, or we can, if we get lucky, get a Cassante. But for now, we're going to say let's put in Nasus. Alright, well, Nasus is a Juggernaut. Who else are Juggernauts? Well, we know that Azir being strategist, we're going to need a Jarvan, right? So we put Jarvan in. Okay, well, another strategist is Swain. Let's put Swain in. So we have 3 strategists. We have Nasus, and then let's say we put in Renekton for the hell of it, right? So now we need a Sork and another Demacia because of Jarvan. All right, well, perfect Sork is Lux. She can be your side carry. So now you have 2 really good carries, and you have 2 out of 3 Demacias, but you have enough Shurimas in. So you're missing Juggernaut and Demacia. Well, now we put Garen in. So if you think about it, it's very common sense at why that comp worked. Everything kind of meshed together really well, and you had 2 really good damaging units in the back, and you had a really good front line. And that kind of just all melded together to a really overpowered comp. But if we look at someone else who depended on their legend per se, we can look at Bastion of Phalios, because with Azir, you could realistically go wherever you want. You can go augments like TK or Swain to get there faster, or not Swain, sorry, Aurelion Sol to get there faster with either money or levels, or you can say go Earth for items and potential smaller amounts of gold, but still there, right? But then we look at Bastion of Phalios, and now you're wondering, all right, well, Bastion of Phalios needs 2 specific augments. We need Transfusion and Partial Ascension, or Ascension or Final Ascension. It kind of depends which one you get, right? And when you think about it, well, the only character you can go then for Legend would be Vladimir. So why did that work out so well? Why was it so easy and strong? And when you think about how Transfusion works, it's pretty simple, right? you kind of lose streak throughout the entire game, because the way transfusion works is for all the HP you're losing, you're basically transferring that HP to your team. They're getting more health for that. And so you say, okay, well, I can keep a constant losing streak, and no matter what happens, so long as I'm not dead, my tanks are becoming tankier. And Bastions are very tanky, and the way they work is the first couple of seconds in a fight, they have double resistance, which is really strong. And now we look at Ascension. Ascension, after 15 seconds, your carries or your characters all just get more damage, right? I think it's like 50% or something. So when you think about it, yeah, that's really broken, right? You have an unkillable frontline because Bastions are notoriously tanky for the first 10 seconds. They get transfusion healing them, and you have all the econ in the world because you're on a constant losing streak that you can roll down before anybody else. And then you have Aphelios in the back, who you just give double Gwinsu and Deathblade, or double Gwinsu Giant Slayer, IE, or something just to give him more damage. He is just mowing down their front line, and the enemy can't even scratch you. And when you look at that, you kind of just realize, wow, that's really overpowered. But I bet a lot of people who tried Bastion Aphelios didn't realize that, oh, I need transfusion and partial ascension or normal ascension or whatever it was. And because of that, they're just screwed, right? They're going it, and yeah, you're doing decent, right? Your Bastions are still tanky as all heck, but you're not gonna have ascension just to double up that damage for Aphelios to just murder everything. And I think that's something that a lot of people need to do is don't just look at a comp from Mobiletics and just be like, yoink, that's a good comp, I'm gonna use it, I'm gonna climb with it. Obviously there are some that are kind of like that. Spin to win Garen is a good one. It was very simple. You just give items to Garen that make him go faster and Garen go burr, right? But a lot of times that's not going to be that easy, right? In higher ranks, you're going to hit that stopping point where people are going to start contesting you because you're running an overpowered comp, or you're just not going to hit, right? So in moments like that, you need to think, okay, I need a backup comp, and I should have at least 2 to 3 comps. Now, I'm going to put on the screen of all the comps that I kind of ran throughout set 9 when I did, and you can see that I just didn't run one comp. I had at least 3 comps. I had Void because, well, it was pretty bad and it was uncontested, but if you hit 8 Void, you had a constant top 4. You had Shurima Azir, and that would give at least a first, and then the final one was Damashias because they had gotten a massive buff at the end of the set. And because I ran those 3, I would always have a constant pivot. Now, the big thing about those 3 is that I kind of always built items that were easy to transfer to other characters, right? So if you think about how Bastion Azir is, you need specific items, right? You just want double Gwinsu, you want IE, or the last item could be whatever. But sometimes I did run it. I did run, not Bastion Azir, I ran Dead Ice, which is the pseudo of it, which didn't require Vladimir, it just required you get Phage Lord. And the reason I ran that is because it was more flexible, right? I build tank items, and then I give my Aphelios certain items, but those items can also go to Swain, or not Swain, can go to Azir if needed, right? So I had items which were pseudoed out, right? If Void got somehow contested, I give, Kaisa items to Lux, and if, say, Damacia is uber contested, I can just give her items to, well, Azir, right? And that's kind of how I played it. I kind of looked at the board and I decided, how contested am I? How much do I want to fight this guy for it? Or is there a way I can get out early, right? And I think that's something that a lot of people need to learn, is that you should never one trick a comp. You should have like 2 or 3 comps in your head, and throughout the game, you need to decide, well, am I able to hit before them? Do I have the econ, etc., etc.? And that kind of leads me to the next thing I want to talk about, which is economy. So I'm going to cut this part off here, and then I'm going to talk about economy next. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is economy in TFT, because I kind of feel like a lot of players really don't think much about it, and they kind of just see it as, oh, it's just the money in my bank account. But it kind of gets a little bit more complicated when you think about how situational it is, right? Obviously, we have the interest to think about, where it's plus X gold for every 10 gold you have, and it goes up to a maximum 50. So you can get plus 5 gold so long as you're above 50 gold per end of combat. Now that's pretty good, but say for example, I'm on a 4 win streak and I'm about to go into Krugs, but there's one more combat beforehand, and the person I'm fighting, I'm assuming, is a very strong player, and the other 2 people that I can potentially fight are decent, right? I have a good chance of beating those guys, but a strong player is situational, and I can win the fight by hyper leveling, and if I hyper level to like say level 6, I can put in 1 unit, but I spend 20 gold, but I guarantee the win. Is it worth it? And the short answer is yes. A lot of people might think, is 20 gold worth it? But, you know, you gotta see it how interest works, right? I am spending 20 gold to win that combat, and now I am on the max win streak, right? And on a max win streak, I most likely am going to continue win streaking if I just beat the strongest player. And because of that, I am getting so much more gold. And it's roughly estimated to be 30 gold for a set amount of time. And that 30 gold, yeah, that's a lot. And you're also saving HP, and you're guaranteeing yourself a good spot. Now, other times you can think about gold, like when is it good to go under, is say you're contested, but you're farther ahead on levels, and you know you can beat the other person to hitting, say, a Zir or Nasus, right? But they already have 1. But now, you're at level 6, say you need 12 gold to level, and you're about to go into Wolves, right? What do you do here? Well, you have 2 options, right? You know that for a fact by end of Wolves, that person's going 7 and rolling down to 0. But right now, you can hit 7 with 40 gold remaining, and you can roll it down and hope to get lucky. Now, this is where gambling kind of comes into the play, right? You don't know if you're going to hit or not. But is it the best play you can make? Yes or no? And that kind of also depends on, can you pivot and how much health do you have? Say, for example, I have the idea of building Azir items. I didn't make the Shiv yet. I do have a Guinsoo's Rage Blade, and I just have tank items in the front. Well, I'm going to look around the lobby. Hey, is Aphelios contested? No? Alright, I can go to Aphelios and slow roll. But if, say for example, Aphelios is contested, and I'm at low HP, and I don't want to lose anything else, roll it down. Roll it down. If you're going to die, you're going to die, right? Holding your gold's not going to do you any good, and going to 8 is not also going to do you any good. Just go to 7, hope you beat that guy like that you're competing against, and just fight for it, right? Because at that point, you're not playing for the win. You're playing for a top 4. And now why is that important? And the reason because it is not every game is winnable. And you need to accept that. If you think you're going to go in a TFT and win every single game, you're either really stupid or you just won the lottery and you're really banking on the fact that you're a lucky bastard. And I'll be honest, you're not going to be lucky all the time, right? Yeah, you can high roll some games, but most games you should always expect that there's going to be someone else who high rolls higher than you. So if you say, for example, hit all your 2 stars and you're doing really well, you can always lose to that guy who hit a 3-star 4 cost, right? You shouldn't assume that you're going to win because you're lucky. You should always play for top 4 for that reason. Now, yeah, it's sometimes good to roll down, and like I said before, it's very good to keep that +5 interest. But say you know you're gonna die, it's just not worth it at that rate, right? What are you keeping that gold for? Next game, you're dead. You're going back to 0. So that's just something I kind of wanted to talk about, is preserving streak is really important, but another big one is just the idea of, if you know you're contested, or you have pairs, for example, right? Say, for example, I'm at 20 HP, I have 2 Azirs, 2 Nasus, right? And it's 5 people remaining, and I'm about to fight the 2nd or 3rd place person, right? I have 40 gold, and I can maybe make it to 8. Well, 2nd and 3rd place, I should assume are pretty strong, right? I'm gonna look at their boards. If they're gonna beat me, yeah, Azir 2 and Nasus 2 are gonna make the difference. But what are you getting at level 8, right? What is so important at level 8 that you think will save you and win you the game? Nothing. But going keeping level 7 and finding your carries and upgrading them are way more important, right? It doesn't matter at that rate. You gotta just accept the fact that you gotta gamble at sometimes, right? And that kind of also comes down to is TFT is not all 100% skill, and it's not 100% luck. Anybody who says the game is 100% luck is just bad. I'm sorry to tell you it, but you're bad at the game and you're making excuses. Because there are ways to mitigate that luck aspect. Yes, there will be games where you lost because of luck, I'll give you it. Not every game is won by skill, and not every game is lost by skill. There are games where you win and lose by luck, but 9 out of 10 times, it's probably because you played badly. And I really think that's something that people really need to accept. And that's kind of why I say this game, in a way, is 50-50, where it's 50% luck and 50% skill. Because you need to accept that the other people in the lobby are probably also going to get lucky, right? If you look at how the shop is, it's like a 2% chance to find a legendary at 7 or 1%, whatever it is. People hit that all the time, I swear. Same with at level 5, people hit 4 costs all the time. And I've done it too. People probably look at me like, hey, that guy's is lucky, right? So you need to accept that, A, you should not always play for win. There are people who will get lucky, and sometimes you'll get lucky. But you should always look for an opportunity to accept a top 4, because in the end, you're at least going up. And that's going to lead me to my last topic that I kind of want to talk about, and that's just understanding the MMR system. So I'm going to cut this part here, and I'm going to talk about that next. Alright, so the final thing in TFT that I kind of want to talk about is how the MMR system works, because it's a little bit more complicated, and understanding it will give you a really good advantage, right? So we obviously have the displayed rank and your hidden MMR, and I think a lot of people already know about this, but to briefly go over what a hidden MMR is and your displayed rank is, your displayed rank is what you see on your screen, right? You can be Diamond 4 or 77 LP or whatever, right? But you also have a hidden MMR, which is what basically decides, alright, what game is this guy going into? Often not when you're about to rank up, you'll see that you're putting into a tier above your rank, so say I'm Diamond going against Masters, right? Or I'm about a D rank, and the game thinks, hey, this guy's trash, put him with Plats, right? Now, that's kind of the main thing I want to talk about, is the hidden MMR is really important, because it decides how much you gain and lose. So, say for example, I'm stuck in Diamond 4, and I lose 80% of my games, and maybe win a few, right? I will gain probably 40 for a first place, 38 if I'm really down. But when I start losing, I will probably lose 80 to 100. And that's something that really can affect you mentally, is seeing that number drop. And I think it's really good for people, especially when starting playing the game or a new set, is just don't jump right into ranked, right? I think jumping right into ranked is a bait. Yeah, it's good to learn how people in ranked play versus norms, because in norms people are kind of screwing around with new comps or they don't know how to play, and it's not the same rank. But you should still take everything I said in this video, understand it in norms, and then you can put it in a ranked, so that way you're not affecting your hidden MMR. Because when you affect it really badly, like say you're trying to do all this stuff I say and you're just trying all these comps that you don't understand or trying to flex, you're going to be losing 90% of your games, and you're going to be at that point where you're going to be losing 100 per game, right? And you'll never really be able to climb for a while. And yeah, you can fix it, but it'll take you an eternity, right? And it's not bad to play comp early, it really isn't. If you're really good at understanding the game, then fine, do it. But it's just something that needs to be mentioned, because a lot of people kind of do jump into it, especially because a lot of people get pressured into it, because a lot of people say, oh, it's a chill game, you don't really need to worry about rank. But if you you yourself want to care about rank, that's up to you, right? Don't listen to what others say. So that's just my final recommendation. Just don't think much about jumping right into rank. Just play some norms, have an understanding, especially when a new patch comes out, right? Say for example you were one tricking a comp and it was Strategist Azir, and that's how you climbed. When Strategist Azir gets nerfed, you're gonna be left with no options, right? Now you gotta learn how to play a new comp, and when you try going into a norms, you're fine, you're not gonna get screwed over, but when you play it in ranked, you're kinda screwed. And I think that's just something that needs to be mentioned. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm gonna make a little outro right here, but I'm just gonna cut it off here so that way I don't choke up on my words. Alright, hope you guys really enjoyed that, and I hope that this is kind of a good informative video for people, and I'm sorry if it kind of felt like I was ranting a lot. This is the first time I've ever really done something like this, and I really want to make more videos like it, so please let me know if you guys want me to change stuff. I know I did a lot of cuts throughout the video. I'm not used to talking in long durations, and I kind of realized I flopped on a lot of my words, so hopefully I can get better at that in the future. But I will be making another video on how to start playing TFT, because when I first started, there was just so much information. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this. Thank you for watching. I'm going to let the rest of this clip play out, because I do hit a really nice ending, and I hope you guys enjoy.